Hello, welcome to GeoBuiz. Today we have with us Mr. Anup Jindal, CEO and Joint Managing Director of RMSI Limited. One of the trends in the industry today is the shortening of product and tech innovation. How is this shaping the business?
These are very exciting times for the geospatial industry. What we see is the emergence of some very large companies which have built their businesses around geospatial technology as well as data. Some of the examples in the recent times are companies like Uber, Airbnb. These were companies which were just not existent a few years back, but look at how they have leveraged what this industry has created. So these are the companies which are giving a great impetus to innovation, and that is being leveraged when I see a lot of new startups, right? Because they have a lot of incentive to further come up with technologies to improve the quality of maps, to how quickly map new areas, how to develop a new technologies for pinpointing better location, both inside, outside. So there's a lot of innovation which is being fueled by these new applications, and we see this as a great thing for the industry, which is transforming the industry itself. So the industry also needs to broaden its definition. It needs to look at itself more than just a technology horizontal provider into a bigger player in solving consumer or business problems. And going forward, we see definitely this pace of innovation to even further increase.
So how is your organization tuning itself with this trend?
What we've done in the past year is we are organizing ourselves into specialized focus areas, and in those focus areas we are setting up special teams which will focus exclusively on innovating and working with some of these kind of companies so that we can come up with more relevant technologies as well as come up with more appropriate or implementable solutions, right, which would have some elements of geospatial but also look at these enabling processes which can be which will be part of a business model that can be taken into the market.
Moving on to the India scenario. So after Prime Minister Narendra Modi's call for use of space technologies in governance, do you think there has been a change in ground scenario?
Prime Minister Modi is a technology visionary, and it's great that he has laid out his vision, and his understanding of this technology and this domain is absolutely outstanding. And he has very clearly specified what he expects from this government, and we are seeing that at a central government level there's a very clear understanding from what the Prime Minister expects. Now, India is a federal state which has many states, so a lot of the implementation actually happens at a state level. So what we are seeing is that the vision, once it has been clearly outlined and it's reflected in the central policies, it will start percolating down to the state levels, and when it's there, that's where we'll actually see the real implementation. So, but we're already seeing a change in the mindsets.
What do you see as the role of the government in R&D and policy shaping?
There are actually, I would say, three things that the government needs to do. The first is government needs to create an environment and set up policies which enable companies to function without too much of interference. Sometimes government needs to support you, but sometimes government also needs to enable that the companies can operate with fair amount of autonomous. Now, why I'm saying that in this particular area is that we are consumers of lot of information which has been generated by government itself. Now, unless and until the government establishes a clear framework where all of this data and information which is resident in various government bodies, which is governed by various rules and procedures, unless they are unlocked and made available to the private sector, you cannot really have innovation, because I have to consume that data, I have to build on that. And that's one major area where the government needs to do something and do it fast. The second part is the whole idea, as we can clearly see the industry is growing, and also from our own example, is about the skills. So the government has come up with this whole skills program in India, and there could be specific incentives for the companies to develop these skills or to work with educational institutions across India and further create skills in this particular domain. There are policies regarding, like there's something like national map policy, right? So definitely there need to be some changes, and also there need to be better implementation. Policy is one aspect, but implementation of the policy on the ground is altogether another, right? There are also various policies which govern the usage of satellite imagery, right? I mean, it's a fact that imagery is easier to procure and process outside India, but it takes much longer to do the same in India, right? So these are some very specifics which I'm sure the industry by itself has been able to put together and represent to the government. And on the other hand, when it comes to encouragement to small and medium enterprises, those are the specific areas where government come up with incentives. The government has to realize that this industry is still largely driven by small and medium enterprises, and the policies have to be such like what they had for the IT companies many years back when they were also at that stage.
IT a long time back had this sunrise sector recognition, which even the pharma sector got it for some time.
That's
Do
right.
you think
Absolutely.
something like that is going
Exactly. I mean, and that just relates to what I said earlier, that at that point of time when there was a realization that the IT industry, right, was going to provide substantial export revenue and creation of jobs. The same is the situation with our industry today, right? Because our industry today cannot be just viewed in a myopic way that this is only about creating maps. We are enabling much larger industries which are built around maps, and the government has to realize this and create adequate incentives, because with this the industry can create far more jobs and create much more growth in various regions across the country.
RMSI has also involved in the Ganga cleaning project.
We've been involved with the Ganges River Basin sustainability related projects for a long time. Over the years, especially with working very closely with the World Bank, we have developed numerous projects in which we have done extensive study of the river flow across the entire basin and come up with what is the flood risk at a block level across the entire Ganges basin. And you have to understand the Ganges basin is not just India, right? It goes to Bangladesh, Nepal, and even some parts of China. So we have done the entire studies in that. Now this has a lot of implications. Now one of the application of course could be for cleaning of the rivers. The other fundamental, when you're trying to clean something or manage something, you have to first see whether it's sustainable or not. And a lot of work that we do is in that area to tell that, look, if you are planning development in this part of the Ganges basin, is it sustainable? Because if it's going to get flooded so frequently or the risk of flooding is so high, then you need to think otherwise. And that's something which we've already made available to the country. It's lot of work that we've done is in the open source domain. It's available on open websites. We can share the link with you.
What are your views about the Make in India project?
Make in India is fantastic. I think this is what was long overdue and needed to be highlighted. And RMSI is a living example of what Make in India can achieve. I mean, here is a company which started in 90s with a technology, right, which was hardly being utilized in India, but had the courage and also the capability to develop that, make it in India and export that worldwide.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.